list, I have 5 stocks which Buffett increased or had some new ads. And in this list, we have 8 stocks which he completely sold out of or reduced his position in the stocks. We will start with the reduced or sold out stocks. As you may know, Warren Buffett is known for its valuation. He wants to find low valuation. And this is the stocks which he sold out from. And the PE ratio is relatively high compared to the ones that he bought, which we will take a look at later in the stock. But here we see the P ratio, it's 16, 32, 29, 15, 11, 10, 4.7, and negative 78. He sold out from some different industry. We can see the drug retailers, gaming, reinsurance, chemicals, and some oil and gas and auto equipment. But in the watch list, which we have the new ads in, the PE ratio is instead around 9, 8.5, 12, 10, and 8, which is very low PE value. And the PS ratio is 1.2, 1.1, 2, 1.9, and 1.2. He bought a lot of stocks in home building, which is the DR Horton, Lennar Corporation, and the NVR. So he makes a big bet on home building, and he increased the position in Oxy. I know that he bought this stock very heavily a while back, but he made some new increasement in this. And the last one is consumer lending. It was the Capital One Financial, which he also is a big fan of. We will see if we can learn something out of this. The first one is the Mac. No, we take Chevron, which is the biggest company. It's around 311 billion USD. So Chevron, it has a very boring revenue growth. The last reported quarter, the Q2 2023, the Chevron reported negative 28% in revenue, and the revenue growth has been declining since mid 2022. The EBIT growth has plummeted. It's now at negative 51%, and it's been on a downtrend also since late 2021. Here we can see the earnings per share. It dropped 46.2%, not something we want to see. And the valuation is up at 10.4. I like to look at the historical PE ratio because that can show that the average P ratio has been 16.6, 15.3, and 12, and now it's sitting at 10. The other company is a reinsurance. It's the Marsh and McLennan companies, and the P ratio is now at 29. So maybe that's why he sold out. It's fair value. It's 29, which is pretty much the average for the last 3 years. It's been on 27 and 28 and 28 and 26. And the growth, as we can see, it's stepping up the revenue growth. We can see it's been a negative 2.2, plus 6.6, and plus 9.2 revenue growth. So this company is showing increased growth. Just for a quick look, we will take a look at the guidance, MMC. I like to do this. See forecast. Yeah, the analysts are still expecting about 5.5% upside in 1 year forward, so it's not a very sexy percentage, but it's we can see at the revenue, the annual, it's still expected to grow. The other company is Activision Blizzard. The P ratio is now at 33, which is another company. He just reduced his position out. I believe it was around 80%. He reduced it. It's in the gaming industry, of course. Let's take a look at the growth. It's been showing nice growth and nice EBIT growth, but the P ratio is at 33. I believe he bought it around 2022, so it's had a little run. And the other company is the McKesson, which is in the food and beverage. The growth has jumped up to 11%, and the earnings growth just jumped 33%. It declined from 129 to 33. Doesn't have too good profit margin, 1.3. That's not the very best. And the P ratio historical is 24, 19, 193, and 140, and now it's sitting at around 16. So it's very undervalued compared to the historical data. But let's look at the forecast for it. MCK 9.4% upside in the next 1 year. Not too funny at all. And the next is the General Motors. It's sitting at 4.7. I've already touched on this company in my Tesla video, so I'm not going to go into this too much. Not too bad revenue growth, actually. 25.1%, and the earnings growth is sitting at 60.5%. Other stock is Celanese. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it doesn't have too much of growth, 12.4%. Yeah, the P ratio compared to the historical data is pretty high. It's at around its fair value. It's been 13, 11, 10, 9. Now it's sitting at 10.6. The next stock is Globe Life, which is a reinsurance company. The growth has been in an uptrend the last 4 quarters. Now it's sitting at 5.8%, which is still not very good. Let's take a look at the PE ratio for this one too. It's sitting at, actually it's overvalued compared to the history. It's at 15.4, and the history says 15.2, 14.9, 13.7, and 13.6. And the last stock is Vitesse Energy. There is no historical data on this stock for some reason. Maybe it's a new company or something, but it's no financial data, so not much to see there. So let's move on to the stocks that Buffett increased. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks, and 3 of these are in the home building industry, which is interesting. We will go through these, but let's start with the biggest company, which is the Occidental Petroleum Corporation. Buffett made a very big increase around around start of 2023, mid 2022. I believe he purchased a lot of stocks in this company. The revenue growth showed a decline of 37.2% in the latest quarter. Actually, don't really know why he purchases this stock. It might be because of the quarters that was in the 2022 had extremely strong quarters since the oil was very expensive. Now the inflation has come down and the oil price is down, so now these stocks doesn't show as strong numbers as it used to, so that's probably why it's declining so rapidly. Let's take a look at the PE ratio for this one. And maybe it's more fair to take a look at the 7-year average and not include the latest insane increase in oil price. So maybe it's sitting around at 8.2, so it's still pretty overvalued compared to the historical data. But if you look into the financial reports, maybe you can see that they have some new acquisitions or new plans or something. But one common thing that we can see at all the purchases that Buffett's been doing is that all the P ratio is quite low. It's sitting around 8 to 12. So the P ratio is very low for the stocks that Buffett is buying, and that's for as long as I've been following Warren Buffett, he's always been a buyer of stocks that has very low P ratio. Um, so the next stock is the Dr. Horton, which is in the home building industry. It's had a performance of plus 55% in the last year. Let's take a look at the revenue growth. It's sitting at around 11% revenue growth, and the earnings growth is at a negative 16.4%. The historical data is sitting at 8.7, which is about the average in the history. The next stock is in the consumer lending. It's the Capital One Financial Corporation. The revenue growth is sitting at 9.5% for the last quarter, and the earnings growth is sitting at 29.1%. The PE ratio for this one is sitting at 8.3, which is at around its fair value compared to the historical data. The next stock is in the home building. It's the Lennar Corporation. It's sitting at 8.5 PE ratio, which is also very low. But the revenue growth is in a decline. It's showing negative 3.8%, and the earnings growth is sitting at negative 33%. It's around its fair value for this company too. And the last stock that Warren Buffett made an increase on was in the home building too. It's the NVR stock. And the revenue growth is at negative 12%, and the earnings growth is at negative 6.1%. And the PE ratio is sitting at around its fair value also compared to the historical data of this company. What we blah blah blah. Warren blah blah blah, kuk and ball. Warren Buffett's biggest position, however, is in Apple. It's more than 50% of his Berkshire Hathaway investment. And the PE ratio of the Apple is sitting at around 30, which is relatively expensive compared to the average in the history. It's sitting around maybe 25, I would say, is the average PE ratio for Apple. But the Apple stock has had a huge run lately. This is the daily chart, and it's been on a extreme uptrend. It's up it was up 57% since its bottom to its high recently. It's always a good idea to follow what the big guys are buying and selling. They have been in the game for a long time, and they know probably way much more than me, so it's worth taking a look at what they are doing, but always do your own research and buy your own stocks that you believe in. And my investment strategy is not anything like Warren Buffett, but yeah, it's always interesting to follow. So this was everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next video. Bye.